I didn't know if you were rolling, just because I could, you know. Oh, are we rolling right now? Testing. Dude, I did. It's going to sound like I'm name dropping, and I swear to God I'm not. It's just relevant for the story. Is that a funny visual?
Call it now.
No.
Big ass pill.
I got one of these. Well, I prefer sir.
Okay.
I've been knighted. Sure. I was knighted by the queen. It was just some gay guy, not an actual queen. No, yeah, it's Rick. I'm actually the third, and that's it. If I told you my whole name, it would just be awful and embarrassing, and he couldn't fit it on a title card. We'll go with Rick for the purposes of this interview. Oh yeah, it's
back up a little. That's the glory of editing.
My name is Rick D'Elia, and you have my permission to use this footage. There's my release. That's an exceptional amount of underwear right there. You got to get a shot of that. Yeah, that's beyond plumber. It's called 1 Minute Comic: The Rob Sampson Story. So it's a mockumentary, I guess, documentary about a guy, a legendary underground comic by the name of Rob Sampson. And he was a gimmick comic. His gimmick was doing 1 minute, 60 seconds. That was it. But it was so brilliant, no one could follow him. He went to headliner, have you ever heard of this guy, Rob Sampson? He was like this underground guy. He was like, no one really knew, you know what I mean? He's like a comics comic. He's the guy that everyone would run to the back of the room to watch this guy. It was phenomenal. And it was a different minute every time, different 60 seconds. And he's the guy that came up with the Aristocrats joke. I don't know if you ever saw the movie. He just kind of disappeared. He just kind of faded. So I got dozens of well-known comedians in this talking about him. I got Kevin Pollak, Gilbert Gottfried, Bobcat Goldthwait, Mickey Rooney, who we were just talking about, Bill Burr, Nick Swardson, Tom Wilson, who was Biff on the Back to the Future movies, Steve Ranazizis, who lied about 9/11. Yeah, but anyway, it's coming out on Hulu next month, and then after that, it'll be on Netflix. No, sometime in the fall. Like things will run. It'll run on Hulu for like 90 days, like 3 months, and then sometime after that, it'll be available on Netflix. Yeah, you know what's funny is I was kind of hoping that it was going to be on TV, but nowadays everything is streaming. Mm-hmm. And I talked to some younger people. Honestly, I'm going to sound so old. I'd never heard of Hulu. I've heard of Netflix. And I've heard of Amazon, and I know that's where you buy stuff. But it's going to be on Amazon Prime also. And people under 30, Sam's age, were like, holy shit, you got a show on Hulu? I'm like, yeah, is that a thing? I thought it was like a Fitbit or something. I thought it I don't know, it was an app on your phone and it clocked your miles or something. I guess it's a thing. I started in the mid-90s in Boston, which is where I grew up. I guess you usually start somewhere around where you grow. I would imagine that's how it would work. I don't see a lot of people going on vacation and going, hey, it'd be fun. The Bahamas, let's do an open mic. You know what I mean? Let's go to Hilarities in Cleveland on a Tuesday and wait in line. I was in a band. I was a drummer in a band. I never thought I was funny. I'm just from Massachusetts, and everyone is sarcastic at where I grew up. And thereby, if you're really sarcastic, you're kind of, caustic people are generally considered funny. Two of them were dating each other, would fight in the middle of shows. We're getting paid. We're at a bar. They would fight. One of them would run off stage. So I just start going out to the microphone and explaining to people why we're taking our 14th break. And, we just did 3 songs and we're taking another hour-long break. And I would start doing street jokes, 2 guys walked into a bar, go to heaven, blah, 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 not realizing what I was doing was stand-up at all. It was just time killing. Anyway, college is over. I have a real job. I'm working at a mortgage company, wearing a tie, and hate every moment of the day, working with bankers and just money people. And I was like, geez, that stand-up shit that I did was pretty fun. And so I started hanging out at open mics and watching people and going, oh, so I can't just tell jokes. Like I have to write my own stuff. I didn't know where comics got stuff. I just thought there was like a comedy store in LA. You go to the comedy store, you get some, you buy some material. I become inspired by something, and then I work it out in my head. Like, there are very few things I have written out verbatim. I can't sit down at 10 in the morning and go, I'm going to write for the next 2 hours. Everything occurs in my head. While I'm doing other things, while I'm multitasking, while I'm playing Bejeweled Blitz on Facebook. I just play stuff out. I just visualize stuff, and I picture the audience laughing at it, and then I just try to memorize it. They're my shittiest moments. I've had some really, really good shows, and they kind of blend in, but it's the really painful ones that stand out that you look back at and you go, because they leave a scar, I guess. So, but I did a show for 0 people, and I don't mean, I mean literally 0 people in the room, and it wasn't like a Vegas casino or Reno. I mean, it went amok in a bit. I don't know if you have them in Kansas. It's like the little roadside. They got like a Pai Gow table, but they're still technically called a casino. It's not much bigger than this room here. I asked the manager, can I just get the check? Like, we sat there for, me and the other comics sat there for like 40, 45 minutes. No one showing up. He goes, you want to get paid, you got to do the show. And I'm like, to who? I mean, he goes, but if people are walking by, they'll see you guys talking, and then maybe they'll come over. I swear on all things sacred to me that I'm not exaggerating at all for comedic effect. I punch my way through 90 minutes. A lot of it is just babble, talking to an audience that isn't there, making up stories, making up heckle things. Like, I'm just kind of crazy, right? I pick up one of those little casino things, like Best Bets, it's called. I don't know if you have a gambling problem. And I'm reading. I'm like actually reading to no one. I mean, there's literally the manager, the guy who's supposed to pay me, walks in and out, occasionally, but I'm performing. So the next day I get a page from the guy who books it and says, they're not going to have you back. The guy said you were awful, like the worst comic he'd ever. I go, okay, there wasn't anyone there. He's like, that's not what he said. He said people were leaving. People were walking out. At one point, he said you ran out of material and you were just reading the newspaper. Did that? And I'm like, yes, that did. That actually did happen. I was reading the newspaper. To nobody. There was no one there. He was I literally got fired off a gig for being unfunny without an audience. So that one, I said 10 years later, I go back to Winnemucca, same gig, thinking, I told the booker, I'm like, you guys banned me. You said I couldn't work there. And he goes, that was a long time ago. No one's going to remember. So I go there, same room, same setup. There's people, but it's light. There's probably 20, 25 people. And I says to the manager, is it always this light on a Thursday, whatever the night is? And he goes, let me tell you a story. This one guy tells me the story about me. I don't say anything. I do the show. He's like, dude, you're like the best comic we've ever had here. I'm going to tell the booker to get you back. And I go, so you don't recognize any of the stuff that I did? Because I made sure that I did a lot of the same stuff tonight that I did 10 years ago when you walked out. And he's like, no. That guy was awful, man.
Well, see, Mr. Rick Delia, which you've probably seen already in this, was like he was gonna just like wear the mic like a normal person, but I said, why don't you put it on the mic stand like a comedian? So we did.